Let's see if we're back here. Hold on. Let's see if we are back. That's the last stream. All right, we're back there. Let's tell people on high vibe retry. There we go. All right. Can you believe Sag Risings? They bricked the whole fucking computer and brought me into the BIOS. If you don't know what that means, the whole computer fucking, and I have the best graphics card, the best processor on the market, the best RAM. It's never bricked like that. And then to bring me to the BIOS where you control how you set up all the parameters of that computer. I'm not even going to go back into the chart, but I'm going to tell you, if you're a Sag or Sag rising, that shit ain't going to fly. Because what that means to me, if you are a reader out there, if you're not one, whatever happens in the middle of a reading, you should pay the fuck attention to. If it's a bird, if it's a phone call, whatever. This was the whole fucking show and the whole thing going down and blacking out. And all I had was black screens. Everything went black. Everybody got cut off. What are you dealing? You're dealing with something that's what you're willing to black it all out and try and like erase the whole fucking thing and not have it be talked about. So I won't keep pushing to talk about it with you, but that's an 8 of Pentacles reverse. I feel like it's like you're just aimlessly continuing to put things in that nothing's coming back. Nothing's really, it's like, what? It's not even gaining anything. So it's the illusion that you're gaining something. Ooh, I'll pick you one more. What the fuck else you got here? Justice reversed. I can't be more clear that this is not in alignment, not actually building anything with the illusion that it is, and actually not gaining any more wisdom or knowledge, and really out of balance and really out of whack. I once Scorpio season comes, whew, Pluto and Aquarius, having to relook at that whole environment. And I mean, I feel for you all. I'm empathetic to you all, but massive cleanup. For real. And it might be hard to hear this, that Chiron full moon in your 5th house, like, but it's you not really following your heart. It's following like the weak part of yourself. Best way I can put it. All right, let's move on now. Let's get back to the charts here. Let's get back to that. And let's get rid of those Sages and Sag ascendants. Sorry. Some people probably feel like it's back to like Deep Love Tarot or something like that. Hilarious. But let's get over them for the minute. Sorry, not your week. Capricorn. Well, hold on, I had an iPad. I had one. I had an iPad around here. Here we go. Fuck, I had like 700 people watching and now it's down like 100. Like everybody's like, thanks, Sag. Thanks for your problems. Oh, I have to go. Now I forgot, but I'm not going to put blame on Sag for that. I left my pen over there. I'll be back one sec. Cappies. All right. Wow. Sun the 10th, full moon in the 4th house. This is really about the dynamics of your life, although it's the opposite place for you to have it, right? Like this is about your emotional life. Have you taken on too much that you can't handle? Now, I know you can handle a lot, Capricorn. Now, Pluto's direct, really teaching you, and maybe this is part of the lesson to teach you to handle things that you can't handle, but it's also teaching you a deeper level of who you are. That's why I've been warning you all to keep everything temporary, everything, because man, you might have just dropped in heavier and kind of playing defiant with Uranus in the 5th and being like, fuck you, Leo King, fuck you, astrology, fuck you, God, I'm doing what I want. I think you've got yourself with this full moon with Chiron here in the 4th in a situation that's too much to handle emotionally. Can definitely be personal relationship related, just personal life, just feeling overwhelmed with your personal life. And how are you able to actually show up to work? And the problem is that you're really not into the work. There's something off about it. You got Venus finishing here and it's about to finally leave Scorpio in the 11th where Mercury is. And I think that, I think that you felt like things were kind of operating smooth. And then this week when Venus comes into Sag by Thursday after this full moon, it's kind of like, Jupiter retrograde in your 6th house, like Mars in the 7th. I think this is where that big battle for you, that Mars in Cancer and that Pluto in Capricorn, that big opposition we're going to see, it really is bringing up a lot about where it's not so much about who you're with. It's about who you are first. I mean, you have to figure that one out first. And this isn't about your career. This isn't about your big thing. It's about just figuring you and what you personally are able to handle and what you can't. I think you take on things and you stay in things that you don't even want to be in for a long time. I also think that, this is you getting in touch with who you are in the personal space, which is something you don't pay attention to. It's always like, well, who's the person I'm doing things for? What am I doing for the career that I'm doing? Like, what do you really want? And I think for you, it's like, you've taken on some responsibilities that are way over your pay grade at this moment. And I mean more on the personal level. Not that you can't do them, but it's more like you're just not emotionally there. And also, Jupiter retrograde in the 6th house, it's making you re-look at everything the way you set up the model house and your whole little life. And you have to re-look at it all. You have to reorganize things. And I think for you, it's pretty simple. It's okay that this is going to be where Capricorns have to say, I'm sorry I'm not able to do this. I'm sorry I'm not able to handle this. I'm sorry I'm not emotionally really, not about like I don't want to be there, but being like, this is actually what I want and it's not this. Or this is actually what I can handle. And maybe the other side, whether it's a job, whether it's a relationship, even can be friendship situations. But, be careful this time not to take it as this huge destruction. If you lose the great job you thought you had, or some hard situation happens in your personal life, especially a family situation, this could definitely be dealing with the mothers, in your life. So there could be some strain about whether you've lost your mom or whether you lose your mom this week, or whether there's some issues with mom, or if you are a mom and feeling like you can't do it. Like there's a lot here about this self-care and this need to be okay with needing to take care of yourself, and how far you go is up to where you can go. It's not about the problem with Saturn and Neptune here in Pisces is it's the illusion that you can do something that you keep losing yourself into. You're like, no, I could do it. I'll just rough it out. I'll make it happen. I'll do it all. I think you just got yourself into places that right now it's like, either you're going to pull back or the universe is going to fucking destroy it for you. So again, that's why I said make no promises, make things temporary right now, because until Pluto comes out of your sign November 19th, which we got about a month, it's the slow erosion of anything that is false, which there's a lot of last things here that we try to pick up when we think that we're refreshed, especially you're the only sign that's ever gone through it in all of our lives, to see Pluto go into Aquarius and back into Capricorn, then back into Aquarius and back into Capricorn, then back into Aquarius. That's 3 times into each, right? So you don't know who you are, and the universe is just like, the second you think you have it, it's destroying it again. It's rebooting it again. And this is really, I think, just about like overcommitting, overpromising, overdoing things, and then also trying to maybe find solace in those things that are actually taxing you too much. So it's like you're overtaxed. You need to get back to like keeping it simple and being to take on what you can take on, and also trying to understand who you are before you start making some sort of long-term decision here. I think that the problem is that you're trying to make long-term decisions. You're trying to get involved. Maybe you got involved with things 3 months ago, like business ideas or whatever, and it's like it's not turning out the way you want, and it's taken away from something else that you need to do. You need to be more free to do what you need to be able to do, instead of locking yourself into these places. And I think that you feel a deep responsibility that you don't need to. And I think you're coming into massive conflict. And again, whether you've backed out or whether you're going to back out, that conflict's still going to show up over these next couple months. So the more that you can start to be honest, like, hey, I can't handle this, or I can't handle that, or I'm not able to, show up in this area or whatever, like, the less the conflict will be. But I think that there's definitely a hard conflict here that's brewing. And I think that this week it definitely will come out for you, I think, after the full moon. I don't think that Capricorns really can see it at this moment. And I think that if they can, they don't want to see it. And you have to remember that the whole universe is going to reset your life one more time. So like, this is the end of that reset, right? The next month forever. But like everything and how you thought you were and all that stuff, it all comes to an end, right? So like and you're not going to be able to go get it back, right? You can't go resurrect the dead you and the whole way that you lived your life. Like the way that it was working and operating with Jupiter retrograding, it's like so especially whatever you were doing in 2012 and how you were living your life, like, are you trying to relive that again in a weird way? Pay attention to that. You got the Chariot card. Time to go, go, go. Go to where Spirit's pulling you, not to where others and where your mind is pulling you. Where is Spirit pulling you right now? Follow that path, and it's time for you to move energy instead of lock yourself in. All right, Aquarians. Aquarius. Well, Pluto's now stationed direct. This full moon's happening down your third house. You got the ninth house with the south node and this Mars in the sixth house. Oh, well, I think you need to pay. Really, it's about paying attention. I think that you've been really loosey-goosey about things. I think that you've been really too open-minded, too optimistic about things that really are not that logically smart. I think that you think you're in control when it's actually more sloppy. And this is much more directed in the big choices you're making, with Venus finishing here in the 10th. But the main part, of course, is Pluto direct in your 12th. Like, this is where, it feels like you're coming to the end of a cycle, because you are. But, it's like you've kind of doubled your bet on that you have control over a situation. Saturn, Neptune in the second house, definitely dealing again with some sort of money situation or something that you can't feel like you can't lose, or something that you've never had and you want to have it, but you're trying to have it in a way that kind of fulfills you, but it's not fully fulfilling you. It's weird because you got Uranus in the fourth house here. So right when you think things are stable, they're actually not. And that's going to continue until next year. And even into the beginning of 2026, so your home life is unstable, and it is not a space, because it's trying to teach you how to express your emotions. One problem with the Aquarians is your greatest value is when you actually connect emotionally. And I think for you that you're trying to connect, but then, if this is your first time really trying to connect emotionally, you're actually not seeing the value there. And you're going to have to keep plugging things in and out to see what is going to work. And I think with Jupiter retrograde in the fifth house, that drama of that love story in your life and your own happiness and your expression, I think that you found things that you're passionate about or excited about, or maybe you found love, or maybe you're falling out of love at the same time. It's really interesting about those duality aspects that you're dealing with Mars and the frustrations. And it looks like you're facing some sort of problem that you've been avoiding with Pluto here. It's a big confrontation about how your life goes, and especially about relationships, since Mars will retrograde in December in your seventh house of relationships, and Mars is the co-ruler here. of your third house, but it's also the co-ruler of Scorpio, which is your 10th house. So it's like you trying to gain control and what you think in your mind, but you're actually not using logic. You're using some sort of belief system. So for you, because Pluto does come into Aquarius in a month, like this is like the biggest trap, the biggest things that are really holding you back that you really don't want to face. And it definitely could be targeted around love and relationship. It also is extremely targeted on something that you thought was of value, but it really is not. At the same token, again, the dramatic love story thing's going to get really dramatic here, especially with Venus coming into Sag this week after the full moon, and that disposits Jupiter, but it'll be in your opposite house, right? So Jupiter rules your 11th, but it's in your 5th, and Mercury is the ruler of your 5th, and Mercury is in Scorpio in your 10th. So it's going to be about these really weird situations that you're going to have to actually be honest, look actually at the truth of things. And I think that for you, that might be difficult because it's like your mind was made up, but part of this is like you just can't run with the thought that you think it is. So Aquarius is supposed to change, radically go through all these different portals and change all these different perspectives and also reinvent itself on the fly, but you're actually trying to do the opposite. You're trying to stay in this sustainable, permanent position and think that you found some sort of permanent solution when really it's more like JB Weld or some sort of like super glue. It'll stick for a while, but it's almost like you're actually anticipating that the super glue you found will stay forever. And it's like, it's going to fall apart. This also is you, I think, now ready to confront any of the things that you've been dealing with that are more sensitive. Addiction, things that you hide, things that you kind of don't want people to know. And also this brings up feelings extreme. So I think for you, it's like, how do you communicate your feelings about what you really want to say and what you really need to say instead of always, trying to be positive or trying to stay with the story with another or stay with this story. Like, it's like the story's not working. So, you have to get back to the logical truth. And it's so funny because you always live by logic, but you've thrown logic out the window, Aquarius, and now you're really trying to do the opposite. Like, you know what? Let me just stay open-minded. Let me be positive. But the situation's getting more dire by the day. It's getting more expired by the day. It's getting more, not of worth. It's getting more dramatic. It's getting more, and it's like the stakes are getting higher on this place where it's like, I don't want to face what's really happening in my life. It's like you want to embrace it more instead of face it. And then that's going to force you to brace when things get, Pluto at the end of the 12th is everything that is not in alignment will be pulled out. And so you might think it's in alignment, or it's more like you believe it is than you think, because the facts are there's a lot of off things. There's a lot of things that your heart isn't really lit up about, or their heart isn't lit up about, that you're not facing within yourself, or it just feels like the odd energy, or it even feels like the odd couple, right? With Venus that's in Sag, with the opposition to Uranus in the 4th, it's like trying to be something out in the public, but emotionally there's something missing. And I think for you, it also is this Sun, Juno, Lilith, South Node in the 9th. It's kind of like, again, you're brushing it off with this you're playing I'm not going to face fact, which really is mind-blowing to see in an Aquarian or an Aqua rising. Again, the word trap is what I'm going to use for the next 30 days for you. Traps. And whatever you continue to double down on, so your problem is you keep double downing on things. Whatever you keep double downing on, that trap is what Pluto for the next 20 years is going to be about. So do you really want to stay trapped in something that you're going to be trying to squiggle out of and then feel guilty and feel, Pluto's going to be very difficult to deal with because it's going to trap you with some sort of like responsibility that then really puts up your morality Where right now you can get away with getting out of the trap with the morality not being of question. But the deeper you double down into where you're going right now and how you're continuing to see these very odd situations and frustrations and things misaligned and thinking that they're just going to reconnect like they always do or realign in the right way, they're not. And that's what creates the dramatic part of all this. And so you're really setting yourself up for the biggest soap opera of your life. You're already in one, but how do you deal with it? You make sure you don't get fucking lost in a trap. And then the other part is that there's a part of you that hasn't fully revealed itself, meaning you haven't revealed like your full emotions, your full communication, your full where your heart really sits, and or something that you've been hiding, not like that crazy, but more like something that you escape with, like a drug and alcohol, or even that idea of, well, this feels like I have control of my life. So you know what? And that can be a drug too. Like I have control of my life. So I don't want to let go of anything that I don't have control, that I lose control. I want to like hold on to things that give me control. This could also you be trying to kind of control, and other people could start to feel manipulated by you, by Mars in the 6th, coming into Leo to retrograde to be in opposition to there, when especially Pluto will then go into your sign. So people are going to be at battle with this kind of feeling like, you didn't reveal this to me. You didn't show me this. This isn't what you were doing. And you change your emotions and your values so fast that it's kind of mind blowing to actually see this astrology and be like, I hope I get this message out to you before you really become the one that is actually going to be looked at as the one like, how did you do that? Why did you do that? Why were you like that? Why would you put me through that? Why would you, right? Like that's, you got to look at yourself extreme. That, you know, you're kind of trying to just hope it'll get better. So I'm here to tell you that no, it's not going to get better until you face the music and be honest with where things really are. And I would use your logic and bring that logic back into situations without trying to, again, use the logic to come back to the same kind of fixing of an answer that you want. It's not about finding an answer. It's about what's the honest, basic truth. And then honestly going, does this actually work for my life, or does it make my life not better? Because, you know, your health is at risk from these kind of situations. And also just as much as you kind of are maybe setting up yourself to be looked at in a big conflict as kind of like leading people on to a place where you really won't show up, it's happening to you at the same time too. So I think your best bet is to get back to the logical Aquarius and look at everything like, what do I not want to bring into this Pluto transit for 20 years and be like, this is going to be what I'm going to have to try and get out of? Because the more that you're digging your claws in and trying to stay on top, the more the universe is throwing more shit you're going to have to get through. The longer the layers are going to be and the harder the responsibilities that you're going to have to be, and the morality questions that'll come up in the month ahead. And so you have a deep repressed subconscious part of yourself that manipulates for control. Like that's what Aquarians don't realize. Trying to change the conversation, trying to pull out emotionally, trying to be excited, but then, oh, I need my space, or I need this. And then you're trying to now do it in a new way. So it's kind of like, no, I don't need my space, come back around more. No, I don't, I will be happier. I'm doing this. I'm doing, right? You're trying to do the opposite, which is making people feel like, well, maybe they've changed. But the truth is, don't ever think that cold as ice part of you is dead. That part of you is coming back really quick. And that's what's going to make people really upset. Or if you change your mind about situations, which I predicted throughout now till June of 2025, you're going to change your heart like 3 times over, meaning that you're going to be in love, then not in love, and then find somebody else and all these kind of weird things. So you're in a pressure cooker and you're kind of denying it. And I'm just being real with you. You want the ultimate trap? Keep digging your claws in. Just keep digging those claws in, because you don't know the value of things, because you don't know the value within yourself. You're hanging on to things that are, let's just say, below par of you. So you really think that they're going to stay long-term in your whole life, and that's what you want to deal with? Or do you want to deal with the horrible energy of Pluto in the negative part where you won't evolve because you just want to continue to hold on to the shit that's not to par with what you deserve. And so the self-worth issues are really intense right now. Feeling like you're missing out or feeling like you can't lose something when really, you know, this is going to teach you to actually start to pick from what your heart really is on fire about and what you really want in your life. And more importantly, it has to be very much not about this place where, you know, it looks like it's kind of control. And for you, you can pull out now about situations because it doesn't look like it's too deep to be overwhelmed about. But don't be digging your own grave here for things that will be really hard to get out. And the big thing is that, you know, a lot of eyes are going to change about Aquarius over the next 20 years. They're not going to be the fun people. They're not going to be the ones that everybody is like, oh, they're so cool. They're going to be the ones where people are like, well, I don't know if I trust them. That's Pluto. So I think that the big dilemma is that people are going to stop trusting you because there's a repressed control mechanism that's built in, that you're trying to shape things, that also playing the victim in your head and like communicating in a way that makes it feel like, well, I've been through this, or you've done this, or you've done that, or whatever. That's not going to be looking real good for you in the future, right? So like, this is about, you know, I think the big question a month from now will be like, why did you continue to be this way? And again, you're in, I would call Aquarians in Delulu, right? Like you're not using your head and the universe is saying you need to use it. And I get that, you know, being positive is a nice thing, but for you, fact at this moment is trying to get you out of the Delulu unbalanced behaviors of belief systems that are really not in alignment. Your card is the Hangman. Yep, you're in a trap. Let's see what else we got. The Knight of Wands reversed. Oh God. Now you're learning a lot, but I think what the advice from being the Hangman in this situation is don't run in, run out. Pisces. Last one. All right, Pisces. Well, we've got this sun in the 8th house, this full moon in the 2nd house, that Mars in the 5th squaring over to both, and then that Pluto that's now direct in the 11th. So this is actually, you know, your meat and potatoes, but it's really about your self-worth and learning to accept that you are amazing for what you have instead of looking for what is out there that you don't have, right? That's a continuation but a lot of this is about out there, what you're looking for and striving for and desiring for isn't there. You already have it within. This is learning acceptance of what you have, 2nd house and Aries. And it's also facing extreme self-worth wounds. And the way that you face that is that Mars and Pluto, even though they're in opposition, I think they're in a positive place. The 5th and the 11th house in square to this can really be like, you know what? Learn to enjoy your life. Learn that the place in your life is only found when you're having an enjoyable time and you're accepting who you are, accepting that you are of value. Now, I know it's been hard, Saturn, Neptune in your sign. I mean, nobody really knows what it's like except Aquarians, and they've been in Delulu and they're coming into more Delulu, right? But they had Neptune, of course, 13 years ago for a good decade in their sign. But you're the one who rules Pisces, and then now you have Saturn. So Saturn, Neptune, and Saturn is making it difficult because it feels like you're being restricted of some part of this ego that you want to become. When really the universe is actually trying to say, no, if you were to go that route, you won't get to actually where you really want to go to. So this is about realizing that accept what it is and you have and learn to appreciate what you have. Jupiter retrograde in the 4th house, it's about not, this is where it might be hard. Like, it's about your emotions and knowing how to communicate from a space about appreciation, because that sextile over to this full moon, instead of your frustration or what you don't feel like you're getting, or that, you're always getting the short end of the stick or whatever, because that Saturn's there. Or you could look at it from the 8th house perspective, like, well, I desire something. There's some greener grass on this other side when there's not. It's the illusion. And especially even that Pluto I've talked about, right? Like, no, you just can't just drop a crazy bomb and try and find some crazy new life right now, right? Like, that is, you can't do the escape pod through people. You can't try and like disrupt everything. This is more about, the disruption is a Pisces showing up actually with love, but love with their self-worth. So this is also about your image, because it's 2nd house, Aries, Chiron, full moon, and the opposition, right? So this is about you learning to love who you are, what you look like, your image. You can't get caught up in the dark part of yourself. Venus here in Scorpio, 9th house. You've got to transform those beliefs into positive ones and see that the attractiveness is in your positive viewpoint, not in a negative viewpoint. Venus then comes into the 10th and tells you the responsible thing is to be positive again. So Pisces' number one thing is to not keep falling down, deep emotional cliffs with their emotions, when actually with Jupiter retrograde in the 4th, you are in the safest place of your life. Everything is comfortable for the universe to do its work on you and for you to do the work that you need to do to become the person you've always wanted to be, and learning to accept who you are. The biggest thing is learning acceptance. I know that you really think about all these different things, or try and like look at all the values in your mind that are in alignment, that aren't in alignment. But I think that for you, it's like, maybe don't overwhelm yourself. Start one piece at a time, the whole image of who you are, the whole value system of yourself. And then, there's areas where you could be like, okay, I don't like this about me, or I don't like this. And it's like, instead of maybe even saying I don't like, be like, you know what? I can evolve in these places. I can accept more in this of me, myself. And maybe also Pluto is helping you get a viewpoint that maybe other people actually don't see that. Like, I think that your deepest fear is like being, judged in a kind of reputation way about what other people might think about you, in a sense of what they think that you look like or whatever. But Mars here is teaching you a long story about how to love life when it comes into Leo to retrograde, but also you have to feel comfortable with your own happiness. And that starts with your own self-worth and value, since Mars disposits over to Aries, which Aries is your 2nd house. So you can't feel happy and comfortable unless you know how to love what you look like and accept what you are. There's a lot of fish in the sea, and they all look really weird, from sharks to blowfish to all the kind of weird dolphins and everything in the world, and even the critters and even the fucking crabs and all these different things are out there in the sea. Let's be real. Sea smells weird, or it smells beautiful, depending on how you look at it. A sea looks horrible if you're in the middle of it and you're in a dark place. And it looks beautiful if you're in the Bahamas. You are having to realize that we all can go through that, but this is where you have to learn that your feelings need to stay based in fact, and you need to believe the facts, not believe the stories you're creating emotionally. Like, I don't feel good. Do you not feel good? Or is it because you won't accept the fact that you actually are badass, you actually are amazing? And so for you, you're dealing with this undercutting of yourself that you continually undercut with Saturn, especially there. I get it, but there is still no excuse even with Saturn. Saturn saying, stop trying to remove the beauty of who you are, right? Like the magic of who you are. It's almost like you're gutting yourself. It's like you're destroying your own self. Like, it's like you have some sort of visual that's not true, or some sort of self-worth issue that's really not, you're giving it value when the real values you're not giving values to. And really, Pisces, I think that this isn't the hardest, because I think that it could be really positive if you learn to accept how you are, just who you are. And when you can do that fully and stop stressing yourself about where things need to change. Like, you're so focused on some sort of change that won't happen. And even if it did change it, you would want another change. So it's kind of the addiction to change, or the addiction to some sort of transformation that isn't really going to make you happy. You're being forced to be back into your emotional self, living from your heart, and appreciating who you are and realizing that other people love you for who you are and they don't see what you see. Nobody can. And you will try to convince people like crazy with Pluto and Capricorn, but you can't. People actually have to see like this is legit, right? So you can't, like what this could bring up is people getting over the illegitimate wounds about your self-worth that just aren't true. And you can't be mad at that because if it's not true, it might be true to you, but if it's not true, it's not that people aren't empathetic. But nobody's going to empathize with somebody who's constantly beating themselves up when they have a beautiful life and they are great, or you do have things. You could even have fears about money, or that you'll never make money, and that you need to have some crazy thing to bring things in to get money, or to even have something, or feel like you will never have whatever you've ever wanted, or you'll never attain this kind of stature of beauty you've ever wanted. That's all a lie, right? So this is the lie that it's not that you lie to other people, you lie to yourself, and then you kind of want people to understand the lie, and nobody that cares about you will buy the lie, right? So it's about learning that you're not really lying, you're lying to yourself, and you're used to getting validation from people who would lie to you and just validate whatever you wanted. But now you can't give validation anymore off things that are not actually true, especially based off your self-worth and who you actually are, that are undercut, that are underpinning, and that aren't from a positive place and are from a dark place that really you're learning to remove. And I think that overall for you, that's the biggest part, right? Like we can't have a world of magic if you don't believe you're magic. Like the whole universe is offline with magic because Pisces don't believe they're magical, or they don't believe that they're glistening beauty when that's what they're here to do. It's like, that's what you have to accept, is that you have to accept that you're amazing. You have to accept that you are beautiful. You have to accept that that even the wounds have to learn to be like that. The wounds aren't even that big a deal, but you make them too big emotionally. And the healing power is when you inflate in a positive way, the positive ideas and thoughts, and that you're emotionally safe with accepting of who you are. But the inflammation and the really hard shit and inflating emotional kind of like craziness is when you're totally lost in your wound and you're actually giving your wound a platform. I got an Ace of Swords reversed. Sorry, it's not about trying to find some moment where you can clear all your head and clear your mind. It's about actually like stop attaining these thoughts and giving them all of the power. Like it's not about finding some new thought. It's about letting go of the thoughts that really are not positive and inching you up towards to where you want to go. And honestly, this isn't about some new start. This is more about letting go of the shit within you that really is not positive in your own mind. And I know a lot of it's a battle of your values that are triggering everything else, but a lot of it too is Saturn in your sign with Jupiter and square. So if you think about it, how you deal with your personal life and your personal feelings is an extreme test with Jupiter square Saturn from that fourth house, right, to the first. And that's a big one that's playing out for you, is like, it's all about how you're handling things emotionally about yourself. And especially right now, it's putting the highlight this week in an extreme view about the second house and how you worry about what everybody thinks. And you worry too much about whether or not it actually is making you happy, when the truth is nothing will make you happy till you learn to accept who you are. All right, everyone. Well, sorry that the whole live stream and everything got shut down there with those Sages. I hope you Sag risings have a come to the universe moment. But everyone else, I know it's a lot. I know those last four signs. You guys are the ones going through the most, and then Cancer is definitely in the middle of all that. Again, stay positive, everyone. We're all doing our work. We're all going through the motions, and we're all doing 16 years of work right now. And the major last test, the last month of it this week, We have one more month of Pluto Capricorn left, and then the world is very tipsy and slidey and all over the place, and there's a big boom going on with war and all these crazy stuff and extremes coming up and coming up and coming up and coming up, and then really you learning to realize that control is not your best friend. And we live in a world right now where there's a lot of people who want just give power to people that just want control and want to restrict people and want to stop people from speaking and communicating. And, you know, it's crazy. So anything that's trying to give up your actual full sovereignty as a whole human, not about one part, a whole human. Okay? Think about that. There's a battle for the sovereignty of humanity, its health, its fucking freedom of speech, its ability to protect itself and do all these things and not be taxed up the yin yang and give away to all these crazy corporate fucking war shit. And then there's a side that's just using body autonomy, even though they don't want you to have body autonomy unless it's only about an abortion. But everything else, let the state put it in your arm. I appreciate you all very much. That's fucking terrifying. And that's the authoritarianism that's actually happening. And that's totalitarianism as well, masked by trying to say it's the opposite side. And that's what happens at the end of Neptune and Pisces. They said the same things about Abraham Lincoln. I appreciate you all very much. Adios.
Yo.